CLI part is very less. So one thing which we did, that is creating resources. Sorry. Resources manually. I think almost 90% of the time you would be using your portal for doing it, right? Second part is you may have interacted, not always, but interacted with pipelines, sorry, with AWS programs, that too only in cloud formations. That too only in cloud formation, but very less touched with the base with your AWS CLI, right? The command line interface. Also, I think there may be you have, I'm not sure, but if you have not done that, that's it's fine. You would have learned about one service which is Elastic Beanstalk, where you can deploy code to Elastic Beanstalk. Elastic Beanstalk. So you have learned this service, right, everyone? Elastic Beanstalk. Have you heard about this? Correct
Yes,
or
yes,
no?
yes, yes,
You have done,
yes.
right? So you must have ran your applications onto this Elastic Beanstalk. So this is what is part of a manual process, and we are very likely to make mistakes in this part, and that is totally fine. No one is able to memorize all the steps. It is very difficult to make sure that okay, everything is perfect and there is no errors. We ran everything and everything worked fine. So there are chances of. Now the agenda of the DevOps part, or whether it is Azure DevOps, AWS DevOps, any DevOps which you are using, right, main agenda is that whatever you are doing, you should be able to do it via code, right? Now we have to make sure we should be able to do with the code. We should be able to do via code. Now, when we are doing via code, mainly thing what happens that you write a small program on your laptop, you execute on the local CLI, it works, right? It will also deploy the resources onto the cloud. When you deploy the pipeline, it will also deploy on the cloud. You keep on integrating the best practices of AWS. That okay, it should automatically pick the username credentials. It should automatically pick the secret key or password. So every time the agenda which you would be following as a part of the training would be that you want to do things by code automatically in the right way, and make sure that it is tested before being deployed, right? That is one thing. Also, when you are trying to work with this, you will possibly go into different stages, which can be your dev environment, test environment, staging environment, environment. The people who don't know what are these, right, I will write it over here. First is we will be planning to do things automatically. Okay. Why I'm saying automatically? Because this is the right way of doing things. In the organization, if you're expecting that you will be getting a project where someone will ask you that, okay, XYZ person, you go and deploy things onto the cloud, and you will be doing and manually creating the resources. Nowhere in the industry anyone is doing like that. If you are getting that kind of work, you are not at the right place. Correct? Third thing, when you are deploying something onto the environment, you have to always make sure it is tested before it is being deployed. And I'm writing everything over here so that when you start revising it, you should be pretty much confident that what my agenda of learning all these things is. So it should be tested before being deployed. Correct? When you are learning this part of the, let's say, way of working, usually in the environment, especially in your organizations, right? Organizations, everything is not on the first day being deployed onto the production environment, right? You will have dev, you will have test, you will have staging, you will have production. Correct? Dev is where your developers are actually working on the applications. Correct? Test is where you are testing the same code with various test cases. Staging is something just like you have a pre-prod environment where you are putting your application and making sure that it should be exactly performing the same way as it should be doing in the production. So that is a staging environment where you stage, and after that you move it to the production environment where your actual customers are using it. Actual customers are using it. So it can be any type of application, whether it is internal or external. Customers are basically the users who will be using it, right? You have to make sure that when you are moving it into production, it should be properly tested on a pre-prod environment where you will be expecting it to work in a way it should be working in production. And when you are doing this, while moving from these stages, there will be some places where the people will definitely come in and they will try to trigger things with the help of a manual approval. Why did I say that? Let's say there is a production environment, right? Your developer has developed some new feature, you have tested it properly, now you stage it. Now, before you move to the production environment, your expectation would be that nothing should break and everyone is capable of making human errors. So what we do usually, there is a concept which is known as peer review. I think everyone has heard about that. What does peer review says? That in case if you have a team of enough people, right, XYZ count is there, and there are people who are same skill set, or you have people who are seniors. Let's say you are a lead engineer, you will be expecting that okay, the principal should review it, or a SME of the application should review it before I hit the production. Because if something breaks, at least we should have not done a human mistake or something which may cause the production to break. So that is why some place we will add a manual approval, right? And one thing which you also need, that we all want to be a AWS developer. And why did I not say DevOps? AWS DevOps engineer, because DevOps is, from the first day I'm saying, it is a way of working. It is not something which is just came from anywhere. It is just a way you were working earlier, but now you have streamlined the process. Correct?
Sir, I want to confirm one thing. In
Yeah,
this module, we have one programming language, which is Python. But I have seen, there are less than 10% vacancies in cloud computing that requires Python. All of
correct.
all of the recruiters are asking for Java, uh, JNode plus AWS, JNode plus AWS, Node A plus AWS.
Hmm.
Everything is asking for Java. No one is asking for Python.
Correct. So it will not be always Java, or it would not be always be, let's say, Python. It would not always be Terraform. It would not be always be C, right? You are getting Java or some rules because in somewhere the keyword would be related to that, or the jobs which are coming to be mostly are of Java background, right? So that is why what did I say? That DevOps is a way of working, is a culture which can be integrated with the people who are working on front-end applications. It can be working on backend. It can work with the people who are, let's say, deploying resources via code using Terraform, which you are using Python script for automations, right? So it can be anything. So there is some language which you definitely need to have command. Correct? Is that correct? So that language will be a way or that language is the prerequisite for what you are working. So you will be a Java developer using DevOps. You will be a C or C sharp developer using DevOps. Is that clear? Whoever asked that question, who was it? Who asked that question?
I have asked that question, sir.
Okay, Neeraj. So Neeraj, it will always be a primary skill which you're working. This is a way of working, not your primary skill. This is used to do the Java or JavaScript or Node.js or React.js coding, in which you will be developing, let's say, a front-end application, back-end application. But while you are doing that, you will be using some DevOps way of implementing it. Is it clear? So you
Yes,
have
sir.
to focus on one skill in the organization which you will show them that okay, I am good at this. DevOps is just a way of working on it. Okay, fair enough. So now let's say we move towards this, and to clarify this, let's say when you're working into a environment, let's say you have developers.
So,
Yeah,
sir, one small doubt. So, as you mentioned that uh, we have to be is specific to that skill,
right.
right? So, so there is no extra position for DevOps in
See,
sometimes. That's
okay. Any job description which you have seen in the organizations?
yes, yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So any job description which you have right now, which you know, we can discuss on that job description.
Okay, okay. So,
So
so
there are lot of
that
things.
is
Remember? Yeah.
specific to dev role or
So that is what I'm saying. It's a combination of that is what I was like about to explain. So let's me complete this, right? And then we move to that, right? I will come to your questions.
yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
sure, sir. Sir, also in the just before that you mentioned about the environments, right?
Mhm.
So, will there could be a disaster recovery environment?
Yes, there can be disaster recovery, but again, you will be deploying that environment in the same way, right?
Okay, okay, okay.
Right? For you, when let's say DC1 goes down, other environment which you are calling it as a disaster recovery, right? Ultimately, this is what? This is DC2 only, right? Where the application is deployed. This is application on DC1 which is running on production. DC2, there also application is deployed, but that will be in a passive state. But the way you have deployed or hosted the application will follow the same steps, right?
Okay, so just to clarify, so nowadays most of the application are going on the cloud native environment, right? So
Correct.
are they are following the like are they are maintaining the disaster recovery environment mandatorily, or is that best practice, or they also skip few stages like sorry sir, I think you are not audible. Yeah.
Sorry, I was speaking on mute. So I'm saying that when you say skip some steps, what do you mean by that skipping of steps?
uh okay, skipping of the step in sense I was trying to ask like the stages like dev test, staging, pre-prod, prod,
Hmm.
like that, right?
Right, right.
So, specific to the cloud native environment,
Hmm.
uh, like disaster recovery, they keep or they. is that keeping that is a best practice to keep that disaster recovery environment stage, or they also may skip? That's what.
Okay, so now let's say when you are doing this exercise, what do you think? What is the purpose of this?
So these are basically the environment for the CI/CD, right?
Correct. So which means you have added some new feature on the code, right? And that should be deployed onto the production. Correct?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Right? That is what you're, let's say, today you launched a new feature on, let's say, Zomato. And that Zomato is an application which you are hosting onto the production. You developed that feature into dev, you tested it, you staged it, and then you moved it to production. It is working. Correct? Now, on the disaster side, do you need all three, all four of them, or you only need the production part?
Uh, Disaster recovery will be the replica of the production, right?
Production. So ultimately, whatever is running here, you will just replicate that
Okay, sir. Okay, yeah. Okay.
here because
So,
ultimately it is passing through stages to make sure production is working fine. And if production is impacted, we should have something which is an exact replica of production
okay, as a rollback plan.
as a failover plan, not rollback. Rollback is something when
Uh,
something is working, you revert it back to the previous state.
so,
It is a failover
so
plan,
yeah, yeah, correct, correct. Fail over plan. Okay, got your yeah point. Yeah.
correct? Okay, fair
Yes,
enough.
sir. Yeah.
No problem.
Oh, is this Abhimanyu?
Yeah, this is Abhimanyu.
I mean,
Who's this? Yeah, yes, Mansi, please tell me.
oh my God, you're back.
Yes, yes. It's all, I think, all because of everyone who is part of the session.
Yeah, it's because of your popularity in Learnbay.
No, I already told that it's all by God grace that I'm able to communicate what I know. So, so it's thanks to everyone who is there. I think.
Okay, I was joining this session, keeping in mind that new trainer. I mean,
Okay,
I'm so happy that you're back.
okay. Thank you, Mansi. Okay, fair enough. So let's continue, everyone. So let's start. Can we start, Mansi? It's. I hope it is fine.
So is this the DevOps session you are taking?
Yes, there's a DevOps session.
Okay, okay, great. So are you starting with the introduction or?
Yeah, I'm just
are-
starting with the introduction about DevOps, not moved ahead yet.
Great,
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mansi.
fine. Uh,
Okay, everyone. So let's move further with this. So now when you are talking about a DevOps role, let's say you have developer doing some tasks, right? And also there are testers who are working on a parallel role where you test the code which developers are building, correct? So let's say this is one box which is there. When the tester has tested everything and it is working fine, the next part would be that you're handing over that okay, this application is successfully done, and now we will be handing over the application to the IT operations team, right? IT operations team, where let's say the people who are from the support group or the people who are into testing, they will be operating or doing the operations and maintenance, correct? Let's say you have tested it rigorously, right? You did all the test messages, you did everything, but still there is a lot of problems which I've seen in the production environment, right? So what will happen? There will be a lot of blame game happening between the team. Okay, developers have not built it correctly. You will say that okay, operations teams are not able to manage it carefully. Tester will say that okay, developers have not built the problem. So there will be a lot of blame game between the teams, right? So ultimately, the role which this DevOps people are doing, right? This was there to fill the entire gap, right? So this gap which you see, this gap is filled with the help of the DevOps engineer. Now, this DevOps engineer who itself is a developer, right? Is well aware about the pipeline, is well aware about the problems or the bugs. In case if there is any issue which is coming into the production environment and IT knock team or service desk team, they are not able to fix it, it is the DevOps engineer who will come into picture and check the code, check the development where it fails, what was actually hitting, whether it was a bug who caused the vulnerability. He will check everything and he will try to implement everything on the go and will able to resolve the problem for you. Right, everyone? So that is the place where this DevOps engineer will be coming in. So it's a combination of your development capabilities as well as your operational capabilities. He is not receiving any calls and everything. He is just there to make sure that, that the application which you have deployed works successfully without any errors 24/7. That is what a DevOps engineer is. Most of the cases, once the application had been stable, there is very less chances where the developers or the DevOps engineer are being involved. But whenever you are migrating the applications, when you are moving the applications, whenever you are launching new feature sets, everything this DevOps is doing, because this is the way or this is the place where production is there, where the actual application is running, and normal IT operations team would not be able to fix the issues which may be due to dev related or test related or anything which have not been, let's say, thought that this error could happen. So that is where the DevOps engineer role or the DevOps people will be doing. Is it clear, everyone? Is the role first of all clear to everyone?
Yes,
So
sir.
both development and operations.
Yes, both development and operations which
Okay.
you're doing.
So, I mean, one question. So here, if you set up, everything is ready. This
Yeah.
one pipeline, everything is ready,
Hmm.
and the first deployment also is happened. Everything is fine. So after that, what is the role for DevOps engineers?
So let's say today you have a repository in place, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have CI/CD pipeline. Okay, so I think these questions should come once we have spoken about all these things, right? As of now, the people may not be aware about these things. So I think let's try to complete a bit, right?
Okay.
And then
Okay.
it is
Yeah.
better to come on to the questions. Is it fine with
Yeah.
everyone?
Yeah.
So
Yes, sir.
I hope it's a maintenance and monitoring that will come after this. No,
Maintenance and monitoring of
pipeline.
see see when you say monitoring is a continuous process, right? If you
Yeah.
have seen or part of a DevOps project, there is an Artifactory account which has been dedicatedly created on the cloud where you are keeping the or getting the logs and everything. Correct. Second thing,
Yeah.
if you have seen when you deploy resources onto the cloud and anything misbehaves due to network level or anything is happening, you try and capture a VPC flow log. So that comes under operations and maintenance. Now, if there is any application which is being running onto the cloud, and you expect that okay, there is can be some CPU utilization, memory utilization. So ultimately, what you will be doing, you will be seeing those things as a part of a cloud watch logs or cloud watch event. So in cloud, everything is integrated,
Okay.
right? It's one job or one thing which is doing which DevOps engineer while deploying the resources onto the cloud, he will deploy the resources via code. He will also host the application which is there, and after that he will just move into the production and make sure if there is any event happening, it will generate the alert. Now, since you are learning AWS cloud, and AWS cloud is what is a skill which you are developing. So in this case, what would be happening? That since when you are deploying resources onto the cloud, and this is the role which we discuss about DevOps engineer, not AWS DevOps engineer. That I would be talking about a bit later. But when you are working as a AWS cloud developer or AWS DevOps engineer, in that case, your responsibility is that whatever application have been hosted on AWS cloud using AWS cloud native services, which have been deployed via code, that should work absolutely fine. Okay, is it clear, Mansi?
Yeah.
So whether it is monitoring, whether it is operation maintenance, everything is integrated with AWS services like CloudWatch, notification services SNS, or there will be some Artifactory account which is there, which where all the logs of the account will be going.
So CloudWatch comes on AWS. Usually we have open source tools like Nagios and all. I mean, if
But
we
let's
talk,
say if you have
Mhm.
a cloud native offering, right,
Yeah,
and you want good graphs, and CloudWatch is a initially free service which by default you get with AWS, and you have open source services, but when
okay,
you go and deploy it for, let's say, 1000 resources, right, and at some point of time anything breaks, in case if you are
yeah,
using a free service, from where you will get the support? If you're using
yes.
any open source tool, and some point of time you have to get some RCA, that okay, what was the issue and what was the problem, this problem was there, let's say restart fixed it, whom you will be going to get that okay, what was the RCA for this? You will never get the RCA,
What is RCA?
root cause
root
analysis.
root cause
Root
analysis.
cause analysis. Okay, okay, okay.
Correct.
I
Okay,
think
because
enterprise version comes with every open source tool. So
yeah, so it's not
usually
free,
in
right?
organization.
It's not free,
Um,
right? So and when you go with the 1000 resources or you have big in cloud
mhm.
infra, that pricing is not less.
Okay, okay.
Correct, because you will be integrating with some GUI platform as well. When you use GUI, those will be deployed on servers. You have to pay on specific licenses. Then there is an agent which needs to be deployed on each resource, right, from where you want to capture either the data via SNMP or via the API. Okay, so Mansi, we are going into a different direction. We'll come to
Yeah,
these
yeah.
questions once we have talked about a basic of everything, right? So
It's okay.
let's
It's
set.
okay.
Yeah,
I
okay,
got.
I'll come to that. Okay, everyone. So let's talk about everything else and then we'll come back to this, right? So now let's say when you are working with this, you have heard about a word CI/CD most of the time. CI/CD. So I've muted everyone. So make sure if you have any question, raise your hand and then I'll unmute you. So CI stands for continuous integration, and CD stands for continuous delivery. Now let's say you have a build server, correct? There's a build server. You have a developer. Let's say this is a developer who is working on his laptop, and he is pushing some code onto the, let's say, code repository. What is a repository? We'll come to that. Consider this, it is a storage where you can keep all your codes, right? Now developer is doing what? This will push the code. When you see the word push, it means when you're uploading the code. Uploading the code to the code repository. Now, as soon as you push the code to the code repository, the build server whose responsibility is to build and test, right? This build server's responsibility is what? This will build it and test it, right? So this build server will do what? This will fetch the recent code, correct? And after that, after building it, after testing it, you will be sending the you'll be sending the build and test result to the developer, correct? So here the code repository, now consider that this is your GitHub or GitLab. correct? Or you are using Bitbucket or code commit. So these are major repositories which are being acting as a version control. Why do we call version control? Because there are various versions of the code which have been kept, and you can maintain the various releases or various changes happening to a code over here, right? So whatever developer do, they push the code to a code repository very often. They do it very frequently, right? So this push process, this is happening very frequently over here, correct? Now, as a part of a testing services, or you are trying to build something, you will check the code as soon as it is picked, as soon as it is being saved onto the services. So there will be a build server who will be making sure that as soon as new code coming in, right? As soon as a new entry is coming over here, my responsibility is what? Let's say we mentioned new, sorry, let's say there's a new code entered into this because we added new features, right? New code is there. This build server will be notified because it's a internal mechanism which is there. So it will quickly fetch the code. Now, when this you are using this build server, this build server can be a code build service of AWS, or it can be Jenkins, it can be CI, it can be GitHub Actions, it can be Atlantis, it can be Morpheus. I will not go. I'm just trying to take these names because you get familiar with these names, right? So these are the products, these are the tools which are there in the market. Don't get confused. What is this? These are just names of the tools which are there in the market, correct? Now, after this build has been triggered onto a cold build offering or Jenkins or GitHub Actions, what will happen? The developer will get back the feedback about the test and the checks which have been passed or failed, right? So this place, the developer gets feedback about the tests and checks that have passed. Right, everyone? The tests and the checks that have passed and also failed. Correct? Now, just assume you have your own laptop. Correct? On this laptop, let's say you are working on a developer role. Correct? Now, you have learned Python language. Correct? And you wrote a command or wrote a program in Python. Now, to execute Python program, what do you need? You need Python runtime environment on your laptop. So you install, let's say 3.12 version of Python. After that, you executed the program. This result can be either success or it can be failure. Correct? And this will If it is a success, it is very good. If it is a failure, it will give you errors. And these errors you will be able to see on the CLI or the command line, whatever you are using. Let's say if you're using a Linux machine, so it will be a bash or terminal which you have. Similarly, in Mac also it is bash or terminal. Or let's say you are using some Windows machine. Let's say you are trying to execute it as a part of PowerShell. But when you will be working into a development environment, commonly you don't go to these terminals, right? You want something where everything can be saved. Nothing goes flush away, right? So for that you need IDE. What is the full form of IDE? What is the full form of IDE? Everyone, please respond in the chat. What is a IDE? Come on, everyone, respond. Integrate development environment. I know the full form. What IDE is doing? Let me write over here. Integrated development editor, right? So I think someone gave a description. I think it's Mansi. Is a software application that helps programmers develop software code efficiently. It increases developer productivity by combining capabilities such as software editing, building, testing, and packaging in an easy to use application. Correct? So you can just read that application. It's just that being a developer, it will make your life easier because you can write the code, you can get extensions, you can install the runtime, you can easily go to the specific path you want. You can open the integrated terminal as a part of this. And they're a very common example. In that, the most widely used, which is the most widely used? It is Visual Studio Code. Correct? It's a Visual Studio Code which is there. So now everyone will do what? You will all install Visual Studio Code in your laptop. So search for